Now 6:01.
All right, I've got time. Remember, please silence your cell phones. So it's 6:01. I call this meeting of the Saginaw City Council to order. Please rise for the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. Item 1C is the invocation. Pastor Ronnie Mills. Welcome, sir.
All right, let's pray. Father, we're grateful to be here tonight, and Lord, I pray for the meeting at hand. I pray, God, that it would be honoring to you, and Father, that you would go before us in everything that is said and done tonight. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Reverend. 1D is audience participation. Please see the city secretary if there's an item you wish to speak on. You can speak on any item that is on the agenda. 2 is the consent agenda. 2A is action regarding minutes of January 2nd. 2B is action regarding appointment of municipal court judge and associate judges and approval of municipal court judge agreement. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a second? Paul, second? Okay.
Where am I at? No, I'm in on here.
Motion passes. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. We have 5 individuals tonight. Thank you all for coming. Item 3, updates. Economic development update. We get to hear from Keith tonight. Keith Reinhardt, Director of Community and Economic Development. Keith came before the meeting and asked for some patience. He is very excited and proud of his department and wants to highlight it. We may take a couple minutes, and I said the council is thrilled to hear from you, so take it away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you give me just a second to juggle. Thank you all for the opportunity to come talk to you all today. I haven't had a chance to talk to you and tell you a little bit about economic development. We've had a retail coach come and talk to y'all, but they don't do economic development for the city. They just help a little bit. They don't do my job. I do my job. So I thank you for the opportunity to come talk to y'all today. First, I'm going to cover a few things: economic development, kind of the role of economic development, what all I do, sales tax revenues, new businesses, new development, redevelopment, and some growth and expansion. First thing I have is just some little fun facts I want to share with you. Our tax rate, as you know, is very low. Only 22% of the tax rate is paid by Saginaw, or to the city. The remaining amount goes to the school district and Tarrant County College and Hospital. Our most recent population estimates is just under 25,000. Average home value has gone up significantly over the last few years. Also, the average new home value has gone up significantly over the past few years. I've got a list of some of our major employers. Some of them I have highlighted in green, and the reason for that is because I got a little bit of a narrative for that. And Miller Milling I'll talk about towards the end. Universal Forest Products, I like to tell people this because this is really dang cool, I think. It actually happened last year, but I got it confirmed again today. Last year during the Christmas holidays, I was doing some honeydew stuff and building things with wood. I don't live in Saginaw, but I went to my local Home Depot and bought some wood and went home, and you're supposed to measure twice and cut once, not the other way around, which is what you usually do. But did that, and I started to cut, and there's a sticker about like that on the plywood, and I was like, so I had to remove it because it was in my way, and it said UFP Saginaw. So the wood that I bought in North Thurston Hills came from Saginaw. So next time you go shopping for wood, look for that. And today I happened to go eat it at a restaurant, and there was a truck that had some plywood in the back of it, and it had the sticker on the back of the wood. I thought, I'm just curious. So I walked over to their truck and looked at it, and sure enough, it came from Saginaw. Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, one of our biggest employers, but also one of our biggest recruiting tools for for the city. I'll talk a little briefly about that in a minute. And coming soon, it says the station of Saginaw, that's the local favorite development. They're going to be hiring over 200 people, which will put them in the category of one of our largest employers. I wanted to talk a little bit about economic development, kind of what I do, because I've never had the opportunity to really do that, and tell you a little bit of how it works. Economic development is, or developers are the professional visionaries and strategists who work to create jobs and to diversify your community's portfolio. Economic development is about elevating the potential of your community. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I think it's on the next page, about a SWOT analysis, which is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's my job is to find those strengths and to promote those strengths to businesses that I'm trying to recruit into the public. Trying to find our weaknesses, what are our weaknesses, and how can we turn those into positives. Opportunities, things that we haven't taken advantage of, trying to find those. And then our threats, what are our threats and how can we battle those threats? Economic development works to improve the overall quality of life in your community. This is an important fact, and if you disagree with me, I'll fight you over it. Oh, Mary, I'm watching you. People and companies will relocate to your community based on its amenities. Parks and recreation. Parks and recreation. Recreation is a big asset to cities. Most of the cities that I can think of either have really large recreation centers, and that's a big part of what they do as a city. The city of Allen just opened up a 120,000 square foot recreation center. Ours is 26,000. Just imagine that. That's a big sucker. But it's a very important recruiting tool for residents. But not only that, but for companies. Entertainment, which is what I'm working on. Food and retail. I'm working on recruiting that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Public education system. We have a great education system with Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD. They're a huge recruiting tool, so much so that Dr. Chadwell has offered to and will help me recruit as far as, I can have meetings at his admin building, and he will come in and speak and spread the gospel of Saginaw to help recruit, and I appreciate that. The next one is that guy right back there, Larry Little, in the permitting process. You have no idea how important that is in recruiting businesses, because there are a number that I've talked to, and there's some that have signed letters of intent that I just can't say who they are yet, where they were looking in Fort Worth, let's just say a neighboring city all around us, and they realized that their permitting process takes a long time, and let's just say it takes a long time. Ours is, and I'll tell everyone, it's very, very thorough, but it's also very, very good. They will help you. And Larry and his staff are one of the biggest recruiting tools that we have. It's important that we as city employees work together, and we do. Come on. There we go. Economic development works best when citizens, groups, organizations, school districts, and governments communicate and work together for the betterment of their community. Another fact, citizens are the most important agents of change in economic development in your community. And next, I'm going to show you some of the ways that our citizens have helped shape Saginaw. 2016, the city of Saginaw became agents of change from the previous inactive philosophy to a proactive philosophy for economic development. And in 2016, the city council administration met with an economic development consultant to develop an economic development plan, a SWOT analysis, and by moving Saginaw forward by making economic development an essential priority. I follow this almost like it's like the Bible. It's very important information in here that helps me do my job. 2018, the city hosted a citizen summit where we asked our residents, what is it that you'd like to see? How can we improve? What changes would you like to make? On my end, one of the things that they said was they wanted sit-down restaurants, fast casual restaurants, retail, and entertainment options. 2019, the city published an online eat and play survey asking the same thing. What do you want? Give me names, give me business names. Tell me what it is that you want. They said the same thing. They were consistent with 2018. And the results of that survey are what I follow today to the letter. Our residents tell me exactly what they want. And I've said this before, and I'll say it 100 times again. I can build you a really nice city, but I'd rather you And you on the other side of that camera tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. February 2020 to present, I have that date on there because that's when I took over economic development. I get emails, phone calls, and have personal conversations with residents every day, literally every day. And they tell me what they want. And I'll give you two brief examples, and one of them is I'll refer to as Resident B. Won't give the name. It is a he. When I took over economic development, he wasn't very happy with economic development and how the city was going in the direction of that, and I built a relationship. I'll talk about relationships in a minute, but I built a relationship with him and established by trust and honesty, to the point where he understood where we were trying to take this and where we're going. And now he calls me, he emails me. I see him every once in a while, and he sends me emails all the time of, hey, I just heard about this restaurant. That'd be a great addition to the city. And he knows. And one of the things that I do when I hear from residents and what it is that they want, every single name that they give me, I contact them. I contact the person, but I contact that business and try to recruit them. And some of the businesses that Resident B has given me are coming to Saginaw. Resident M is a resident that comes, provides me information. I see her probably every 2 or 3 weeks, something like that, and she gives me newspaper articles and cutouts, businesses that are interested in either relocating or. So what do? Then there's the two most important things that I do. Number one is I listen. I do speak, and I can speak. I can keep you here for 3 hours if you'd like, but I'd rather go home and eat and sleep myself. But I listen. I listen to what you say. I listen to what our residents say. I listen to what our businesses say. Some of the best advice I got was actually from a developer. I sat down with him and picked his brain when I first started doing this, and he gave me some incredible advice because he'd been around the block and then some, and he helped me go forward. The second most important thing I do is build relationships. If you've ever taken the time to read my weekly report, I speak and I preach about building relationships and how important that is as a leader and certainly as an economic developer. And it's my job to establish and build relationships with developers, CEOs, site selectors, commercial real estate, the school district, business owners, elected officials, city staff, and the residents at home. I do business attraction and recruitment. I talked earlier a little bit about Retail Coach. They just help a little bit. They help with putting my name in front of businesses and putting businesses in front of me. But they don't do my job. I do my job. But they're a huge help to me. I wear a lot of hats in the city, and if I was just economic development, it might be a little easier, but I'm not. And I appreciate the work that they do for us. ICSC Red River, January 2022 and 2023, some of the businesses that the relationships that I built with them and the contacts I made, they're coming to Saginaw or they've signed letters of intent because of that. The 2024 happens in 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens with that one. Retail Live is the same thing. It's just a little different how they do it. And it says, yes, I even do cold calls, which I hate. I hate doing cold calls. I'm not that type of salesperson, but it's part of my job. I do it every day. Some more of the things that I do: business retention, expansion, trying to keep what we have, trying to grow what we have. I do new developments, commercial, retail, restaurant, entertainment, and yes, industrial. That's part of the family too. But I do not recruit residential. Redevelopment, this is a huge thing for me, and from what I've heard from residents in the 20 years that I've been here, and from city councils present and city councils past, is the redevelopment of southern Saginaw and just any part of Saginaw that needs a little help. And that's a significant priority, and it's been a significant priority of mine. Business promotion and communication. I do my best to try and communicate to our businesses, and one of the ways that I do that, especially to new businesses, are I partner with, again, Larry Little and his staff. When I took over economic development, I asked them, I said, how do y'all do your certificates of occupancy? And they said, well, we when they're ready, we contact them, they come pick them up. And it says a real estate agent, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm not a real estate agent. I have no intention of being a real estate agent, but I want you to understand some of the things that I do is very similar. There's one big difference, and I don't get paid commission. But if you were to, I'm going to pick on somebody, Nikki, if you were at your job and your place where you work, you're going to get relocated to, I don't know, let's come up with a random place. How about Kentucky? Get relocated to Kentucky. And have you ever watched the show House Hunters? And what do? They tell the realtor, well, I need a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. I'd like trees, about a half-acre lot, close to downtown, and just different things that their requirements that they want. I do the same thing. Businesses ask me for the same thing, and then it's my job to find what they're looking for. I have a book here that tells me what a lot of them want. It tells me exactly how much square feet they need. If it's already it's ready to go, or it has grease traps, or if they need a half-acre lot or a full acre or 15-acre lot. I find out what their specifications are. I go out and provide them with a list, and then I give it to them, and then I have to back away. And it's their job, their responsibility to deal with the real estate person that's representing that company, and that's where I back away. I don't get the commission. The real estate guy does, but I do a lot of the similar things that a realtor does. City of Saginaw was featured in 2 statewide publications in Texas Town and City. I think most of y'all, if not all of y'all, have been to TML conference either in San Antonio or was it in Allen last year? They have a publication called Texas Town and City, and I was asked to write and author a couple articles. One of them was in the May 2023 magazine that had to do with the station at Saginaw, which is the local favorite development. And it was titled Community Engagement, Building Relationships and Redevelopment in Small Town Texas. I was asked to write another article about our award-winning building improvement grant program called Reinvesting in Saginaw, and it was in the June one, the very next month. And if you'll look, if you can't see it because it's too small, you can look at the magazine right here. If you recognize the front cover and you recognize that building, on the front page of this statewide publication is one of our businesses. Pretty dang cool. Sales tax revenues, if it'll pop up, come on, it's cold. Our sales tax revenues are continuing to increase year after year. Even during COVID, we had good years. There were some, I keep track of other cities just for comparison. We're not the same as these other cities, and we have different retail and commercial than they do, and different residential than they do, but I still like to keep track. And there were some cities that were 10, 20, 30% decrease for the year during that time. And we were in the positive, which is great. And so far this year through October and November, we have almost an 8.6% increase just for those 2 months, which is great. Anytime you can be in the positive, you're doing good. Some new businesses coming to Saginaw. Cava and Five Guys was a result of talking to those businesses and their site selectors at ICSA conference in Dallas. They broke ground earlier this month, and they're going to be building just north of Chipotle. Einstein Brothers is going to be in the Saginaw Business Complex, which is same place where Papa John's and Taco Bueno. Einstein Brothers was recruited out of the Retail Live conference that I went to in Austin. Bojangles came from a newspaper article that Resident M gave me, and they're going to be relocating in Saginaw. Twisted Root, Taqueria La Ventana is coming, should be opening towards the end of this year. The new one is Buffalo Wild Wings, which I found out Friday before last, late in the evening, that they're going to be relocating to the Victory development, which is great because that's a sit-down. Food geographic, it's southwest corner of Bailey Boswell and Blue Mountain Road. Mixed use with restaurant, retail, and multifamily. The multifamily is complete. They're waiting. And we are too, waiting on the commercial part. And they said that they're waiting on the completion of 156 or Blue Mountain Road in their area. The Square, 27-acre mixed use, same thing. Sit down, retail, multifamily, just north of Walmart. One of the different things about this one is that most mixed-use developments, they do the residential first. That's just how it works. 99% of the time they do residential first. This one's doing the commercial first. I take that back. I'm jumped ahead of myself. The different thing on this one is that they're asking for help with recruitment, and I'm stepping in and helping to recruit their businesses. Belt Mill, 115-acre mixed-use development, restaurant, retail, single-family, multifamily, age-restricted senior living parks. I want to show you this because I want you to see. You've seen the development. This is in some phase of what the development looks like with 118 single-family homes, senior living, multifamily, commercial. But I want you to understand just how big and how important this whole development is, because what you don't see always is this. This is the whole development. What the dividing line is the dividing line between Saginaw and Fort Worth, and everything to the north is in Fort Worth. And what's in Fort Worth is a new school and about 500 single-family homes. And literally right across the street is Saginaw, where our restaurants and our retails are going to be, and our businesses are going to benefit significantly from this development. So
We get all the cool stuff, and Fort Worth has the houses.
That's
So
right.
I like how that
You're
worked out.
exactly right. The final development, the Victory development, this is the one that's doing the commercial first, 78 acres, restaurant, retail, multifamily. I wanted to show you this real briefly. This is not necessarily the final site plan, but what I'm trying to give you an idea of where it is. This is just south of Saginaw High School. It has in the pink or red, that's the commercial, and I don't know what color that is, lavender maybe. That's the multifamily. But the important thing to note, I think, is what's just to the south of that. I've talked about earlier about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this was one of them. This was the Globe Aviation site. The whole time when Victory Development was thinking about buying this, or buying the property that they have to the north, and even after they bought it, I talked to them and said, look, you need to consider this. I know it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but you're going to build a fantastic facility with beautiful restaurants and parks and things like that. And they're going to look out their window and they're going to see that. And it looks like a nuclear bomb went off, and it's an abandoned town. It's been abandoned for a good 25 years, if not longer. And part of the reason is because the concrete in some areas is about that thick. Nobody wanted to mess with it. But fortunately, Victory bought it. Had they not bought it, it might have sat vacant for another 25 years. So we were very, very lucky that they did. Redevelopment, Seven Brew is one of the new ones. I appreciate most of y'all, if not all of y'all. Actually, all of y'all came to the ribbon cutting. I appreciate that. Since the install of the initial 2016 City Council planning meeting on economic development, I mentioned earlier about redevelopment of Southern Saginaw being a priority of this council, previous councils, and our residents. And with this development, the center also includes Popeye's Chicken, Pizza Hut, KFC, and Planet Fitness. So we're working on the redevelopment of Southern Saginaw. Blazing Hospitality, you're relatively familiar with this. I'll briefly hit it real quick. It was an abandoned building that's been, it was a carpet place, I think, for a while, and it's been abandoned for a really long time. The quality has gone downhill significantly. The property values have diminished over the years because the building has gone downhill. There's zero sales tax. And what's coming in, as you can see, the building to the south is 4 businesses. They're putting a multi-million-dollar facility in place, plus we're going to have a pretty significant sales tax coming from it. Another redevelopment, and this is one of those that I'll say is not sexy, because it's not restaurant retail, it's not an entertainment venue, it's in our industrial area. But it's part of the family, and you take care of all the family. It's an abandoned warehouse. It's been abandoned for quite a while. The picture does not do justice on what it looked like. Most people haven't seen it because most people don't drive down Burlington Road, but I do quite often. The picture to the right is where a photo taken, I think it was January 4th when I took pictures, and they're not only improving the inside and the outside, but they're expanding it too, and they have the ability to expand even larger, which they plan to do for the right vendor or the right tenant. Here, I'm going to skip over this relatively briefly. The local favorite development, you're familiar with that. You were asking, it was important enough for this city council to make it a work plan item to when the fire department moved out, is to bring in either a destination restaurant or an entertainment venue. And what we're bringing you is 3 branded sit-down restaurants, a beer garden, and an entertainment venue. And that all started from a meeting that I had with that group at that ICSC conference that I'm going to in 2 weeks, with the help of Retail Coach. There's a few pictures, a few images of it and what it's going to look like. Building improvement grants, you're familiar with that. You approved one at the last meeting. I'm only going to hit the by the numbers section. You approved the 30th building improvement grant. So far, you have awarded $134,724 in grants. The business owners have improved their properties by almost $670,000, which is significant, and a 497% return on our investment. And I have little dollar signs underneath those two businesses and showing the same business that you see right here on the front cover of that magazine. When they did their first building, when they first got the building, the value of that building was about $11,000. The value of that building now is just under $200,000. That's redevelopment.
When did the building improvement grant program start? What year? 19?
19.
Okay.
Like mid to late 19. Oh, back up real quick. In green on the right side of accolades, forget the awards, but we've had 8 municipalities from across the state call and ask, how did you do this? How can we do this? There's 2 in the Metroplex that have done it. In fact, I wish they would have at least changed the font a little bit, but they basically just cut our logo out and stuck theirs on it. It's the same exact forms, but I don't care. It's a good program, and they recognize it as that too. Miller Milling, this is the last thing. Unless you want me to go on for another 2.5 hours, I can. But Miller Milling, this is really big for our city, and we should celebrate it because they're choosing to stay here. They're not just stay here, but expand and grow their company. In middle of December, we had a groundbreaking for their Innovation and Technical Center. If you can see, it's kind of hard to see on the lower right-hand photo. If you can see, there's a cell tower right there. And right on the other side of that cell tower is kind of a white-looking piece of land. Parking lot. It was a parking lot. So you look at that acre of land, and that parking lot had minimal property value. Minimal, because it carried rocks and some weeds, which don't have a lot of value. Maybe to the right person, but not a lot of value. And what they're going to do is put a multi-million-dollar facility in its place. So the property value of that little piece goes up. The big one that I'm super excited about is something that was about almost 2 years in the making, is the expansion of the existing elevator capacity. This is huge, no pun intended, but this is huge. It started about almost 2 years ago where I was contacted by Miller Milling and say, hey, we've got a new customer, we're looking at expanding, would Saginaw be interested? We already have a footprint there. And I was like, well, heck yeah, of course we would. They said, all right, we'll put you on the list. So they put us on the list. I spent a lot of time talking to the executives and their corporate, trying to do my job in economic development, trying to sell Saginaw on showing our strengths and why they should be here and showing them their opportunities. And fortunately, they narrowed it down. About a year ago, they narrowed it down to us and another city, one in Alabama. And the reason they chose Alabama, because that was where their new customer was. But in Alabama, they'd have to buy the land because they didn't own the land, and then they'd have to build. Here, they already own the land, vacant land, and they just add on to what they already have. And fortunately, they chose us, which is a big deal. With this addition, it'll make it the largest flour mill in capacity in Texas and the 3rd largest flour mill in capacity in the United States. That's a big deal, no pun intended. That's it.
Questions for Keith? Mary, go ahead.
When you deliver the certificates of occupancy, is it appropriate for you to try to recruit them to the Northeast Tarrant County Chamber of Commerce, or do you already do that?
I do that. They get a goodie bag with, I always tell them it's $1 million, and then they're very disappointed when they open it up and they don't see that. But they get a few things from the city, a coffee cup and a few other things, and they get some information about the market area of Saginaw. They actually, to answer your question, yes, they get a folder of our Chamber of Commerce that tells all about it, who to contact, everything they do, and they get a lot of information from the chamber that I put inside that. So I'm not actually just, recruiting them, and so to speak, but subtly, yes, I am.
Other questions for Keith? Keith, great job. I really appreciate the update. You've got a lot of stuff going, and keep it up, buddy. All right, moving forward to action business 5A, consideration action regarding boring and lowering of the electrical cable that feeds the new restroom at Highland Station Park. Director of Public Works, Randy Newsom.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll give you a little brief history. When we put that new restroom over there at Highland Station Park, we requested service from Encore. The closest transformer to get power was across the creek. So we're thinking that Encore's going to come out and lay the line to the restroom. Well, they did. The only thing that they stopped at was boring under the creek. They no longer bore under creeks and put service lines in. If you want that done, they told us that we would have to do it ourselves and relay that line. So staff was requested to get some quotes. I got one quote for the holidays from an electrical contractor that we've used in the past for $13,500 to put that cable underneath the creek. And if that's the desire of council to relocate that, put it underground to get rid of the 2 poles, that's the only way we could get it there. I would suggest and recommend to council that you approve this, and with the caveat that we get 2 additional bids, which I've got some people that are supposed to be coming out to look at it, but not to exceed the $13,500.
Council questions for Randy?
I'm 100% supported this. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. It looks like crap right now. Looks like, really bad. I know the citizens over there aren't happy at all with it when they seen it go in. I don't know why Encore won't do it right, but, if we have to fix it, we'll fix it. My recommendation is to fix it.
Other questions, council? Yeah, we have to spend the money, but I think it's the right thing to do. So,
I know in the packet I put that the funding would come from the general fund balance, but Kim came back today. That will actually come from the ARPA funds.
even better.
So
Perfect. I say, yeah, let's move forward with it and get you a couple more bids and then let's go.
I agree.
Paul, second? All right. Please cast your vote.
Good.
Motion passes. Thank you, Randy. Item 5B, consideration action regarding resolution 2024-02, calling a general election on May the 4th. For that, City Secretary Janice Ingram.
Okay, Resolution 2024-02 is in your packet. It will call the general election for May the 4th, which is for the place of mayor and place 2, both 3-year terms. It will also call a special election on May 4th for the unexpired term of office for place 4. Councilmember Edwards resigned last week, so we'll be running both elections concurrently, and it'll be all of it will be on the same ballot. It'll just be those 2 will be general, and the other will be a special election. In the resolution, you will notice there's a note in there. Tarrant County is still working on their locations for early voting, and those have not been determined. So when the motion is made on this, we just need for it to approve the resolution and include that the Saginaw early voting location will be added when it's determined by Tarrant County.
Any questions for the City Secretary? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve item 5B, consideration and action regarding resolution 2024-02 for the general election.
With the stipulation.
Stipulation.
With the stipulation of the early voting location to be determined.
I'll second.
Valerie, second? Okay. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. And I must thank Janice for staying on top of all this stuff. This is very complicated, and it's a very detailed state law, and Janice does a fantastic job staying on top of everything. So thank you very much. Item 5C, consideration action regarding recommendation from the library board to approve construction and installation of a custom bench, person reading a child, purchase of bronze bench, boardroom table, poster board, etc. Ellen, Library Director Ellen Ritchie.
Hi there. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Where did my notes go? Okay, I just have some pictures for you, just so you can get a visual on what we're talking about here. So this item is to confirm the vote that the library board took last week for some purchases that they are eager to make for the new building. The library board administers the library donations fund, which collects the money that the citizens donate on their water bills, as well as donations from businesses or individuals and our Saginaw Library boosters. The library board allocates some of this money every year for various library expenses and improvements, but they've been saving money up for this day, for when we could do some, really interesting improvements and additions to our new building. So they've been planning for this for several years, and this is just the beginning. They have other ideas too, and so we'll bring those before you whenever we get there. So the first item, is that how you do? There we go. First item is a bronze sculpture. The board wanted to put a sculpture outside the building, kind of like the new fire station has their wonderful firefighter sculpture. They thought about it for months and months, and came up with the idea to have a two-figure sculpture to recognize the dual nature of the building. So they wanted to have something that emphasized the library and something that emphasized the senior center. So they wanted different generations reading together. So they settled on a grandparent reading to a child. And so the pictures you see here are just some of the examples that we pulled from online and different places. We don't have a picture of what our statue will look like because it's going to be a custom art piece. And after much consideration, they decided to go with Adam Davenport, who did our firefighter sculpture and also our murals in town, because he's already familiar with the community and they really liked his work. So after we sort of decided on the subject of the sculpture, we were trying to think through an appropriate model for the statue, and the board decided we couldn't do better than Yvonne Filippo, who has dedicated so much of her life and her family to the city. She was the library director, wife and mother of 2 of our mayors. So that's what they want to go with to honor her, and the child will be a composite, just for privacy reasons. They didn't want a real child. So that's kind of where that's going. And the second item is the book bench. Both our library board and our boosters have seen these in other libraries. They're like, okay, we have to have one. So one of our library board members sourced this one, and that's what we're presenting today. It's really fun. We thought about putting it outside, but then thought maybe it should be inside because in the summertime nobody would be able to sit on it.
Are you going to etch something in it?
That's a possibility. That we haven't really got that far yet, but it's just a really cool design, so we wanted to have that. The third item is the conference table. This is for the conference room in the new library. That's it's a nice room upstairs where the board will meet, but also other meetings can happen there also. As we toured other libraries to get ideas and to look at the work of our architects that we chose, our board president was really impressed with a beautiful conference room at the library in Seguin, and he asked for something similar to be included in our plans. And so that was added into the design by the architect. Is just posters of our renderings of our beautiful building. The board wanted to get these in front of the citizens, so they want to have these printed up, you know, nice and big, put them in the library so that the citizens can see, you know, the results of the bond election and what's coming for the library. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I think everybody's very excited. Y'all, we're looking forward to this.
It's very exciting.
If no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve 5C as presented.
Okay. Do I have a second? Paul, second? Okay. Please cast your votes.
You already picked out a picture?
To what?
Have you already picked out a picture?
I've sent them several, so
Oh, good.
I don't know what they're going to use. All right, motion passed. Thank you, Ellen. We look forward to it. 5D is update on employee survey committee. I think you're one ahead, Gabe. Councilmember Paul Falagi.
Am I going to get skipped?
Nope. Paul, you're up.
As everybody know, we did the employee survey, and we wanted to actually do something with it, not just do it and then put it in the trash can. So the mayor formed a committee. The committee right now is Lee Howells, the chairman, Janice England, Larry Little, Cody Pruitt, Jose Whalen, Jennifer Garrett, but she's going to be leaving us, so we'll have to replace her, Elmona Everett, Brady Jones, Melanie McManus, Austin Pittman, and Corey Smith. And on the council, it's myself, Valerie, and Mary. Lee has done a great job of leading this group and not steering them in a direction. It just done a great job facilitating it, so I just want to mention that. We had our first meeting on the 12th of December. Each member was asked to have at least 3 topics from the survey to present to the committee. Lee took notes and asked for clarification and additional information. During the meeting, all members were allowed to offer input for each while discussing. Lee compiled a list by priority of which items were discussed, and the committee prioritized by importance in the meeting. Second meeting we had last Tuesday, and it was very good. We scheduled it from noon to 2, and people didn't want to stop. We ended up going till a little after 3 o'clock, so it was really good. People opened up, and things happened. Some inconsistent policies was addressed first. Some of the policies were discussed, and one of the big things was employees felt that there really wasn't a way to report or who to go to. Employees feel that there might be retribution if the complaint is brought up. Communication was discussed, and it was noted that we need to provide email addresses to all the part-time employees so that they're kept in the loop. Some felt the updates are not getting communicated all the time from the top down. Policies need to be reviewed. There are departments that may have different policies for different job requirements, but felt should be not just the department head making a decision. Some employees felt that they were not allowed to communicate with city council without facing retaliation. The next topic was understaffed, shorthanded, high workload. All employees on the committee were present. See that the department is understaffed. Being on call was discussed, who gets paid, who doesn't. Need more employees so that the same people are not on call all the time. Employees are not required to work overtime all the time. Employees feel that they are stretched too thin, and with special events stretched even further. I requested we have a workshop with council and let each department head and a spokesperson for the employees present their staffing needs now and what they're going to need over the next 5 years. Council staff relations. We ran out of time, so we only had a short discussion on this. Employees did not feel they can talk to council. Some said they were advised not to talk to them. So we're getting through some of that right now. Employees feel some council members are not prepared for meetings, getting frustrated when questions are not asked ahead of time, feel as if they are getting beat down at the council meetings, and that they take time and pride in their work, research, and sometimes feel they're being micromanaged. We're going to have more on this later. Just we wanted to make a note that the council people that were on this, we did not direct employees. We offer suggestions and input, and in no way we told anybody, because that's not our job. They're Gabe's employees. So I just wanted to bring an update to everybody. I don't want to have a lot of discussion on it because a lot of the stuff's still in the works, and I don't want to have a negative impact on this so that we can keep these sessions where people are speaking freely and things are moving on.
I agree.
When's the next meeting gonna be
The 30th.
of this month?
Uh-huh.
And what are we planning, how long are we planning to go out, Lee? Like how long do you think this committee is gonna need to be in existence?
You know, we're covering some pretty good, quick ground, I think, now. Depends on how deep in the list we want to go. We have about 10 priorities. But I think we can probably cover all of those in some form in probably about 3 more meetings.
So there's three main areas, and so you guys feel in 3 more meetings, you'll be able to come back with recommendations and here's, you know, each one of these main areas, there's 3 main areas that's got sub things underneath it. So in 3 meetings, you guys think you'll be ready to give a recommendation? And
I'd like to shoot for that.
Okay.
A lot of the lower half of the 10 list
yeah,
are intertwined with each other, and we're already kind of covering a little bit of those. So I think by the time we get down to about number 5, we'll have most of them
how often are y'all meeting?
about once a month.
So 3 months from now then would be February, March, April, by the beginning of Q2?
I think that's realistic. And if we have to have double up 1 month to make that, we can have 2
We could do that.
Well, I would encourage the committee to take their time and do it right. There's no rush on this.
agree.
We want to, it's a priority. I want to do it right, so.
I do have one more thing I did type up. One of the things that we talked about was getting the employees in front of the council and have a 5 or 10 minute session where we can recognize people. We've kind of gotten away from police and fire and stuff, getting swearing people in. Pinning ceremonies was talked about, and promotions, and even bringing in new employees, or if somebody gets appointed, somebody does a great job and we need to recognize them, start doing more of that.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 10 minutes out of every meeting. It doesn't, somebody does something good all the time, so we might as well acknowledge it.
Anything else? Anything else? All right, thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. Item 5E, future staffing needs discussed. City Manager Gabe Raymond.
So Mayor and Council, this is a first discussion of what will probably be several in the coming months and years. So Councilmember Felge had mentioned there was desire to talk about staffing needs. It's a common concern among employees. They're stretched thin. Natural state to find ourselves in. Saginaw's growing. As we have more people, there's more demands on services, which takes more staff. So ask of department heads was to think about the built-out population of Saginaw, which is approximately 35,000. We're at about 25,000 currently, so 40% or so increase in population we expect over, I don't have a crystal ball when that'll happen. The hard part for you, and I'll tie this to the next item related to the work plan, is that we'll have to have some discussions about prioritization going forward. So what I'm going to do is go through each department. Again, the department heads have put their needs and desires, and if you have any questions, please ask. So in the future, probably a follow-up, we'll define a time horizon. Janice has requested consideration of an assistant city secretary. Demands of public records requests are never ending, and they only increase with more people, and a lot of what we get, or at least what comes to my attention, is like bid tabs and you know, who's bid on what projects, that sort of thing, which inevitably takes Janice's time. So
I have a question. Since she works under the council, would her assistant be under the council also?
So this one would be under her, I would assume.
That's correct.
Probably under Janice.
Yeah.
And I was afraid Janice was going to say she's going to retire, and I was going to deny that, so just,
I know. we
that's
can't let her
what
go.
scares me, but, all right, thank you.
Well, I was just thinking she might need to look into her assistant more so because of the technical of all the city stuff. Yeah, I got you.
We do have one employee, would add, that has expressed some interest in learning more about the business of, there's a certification program, it's pretty substantial and takes several years, the Texas Municipal Clerk Certification, which Janice is certified. If you'll recall, I believe last year she was recertified, so, but we have an employee interested in maybe pursuing that. Janice, I believe, has made a blood oath with Randy Newsom. They're going to retire in 15 years. They're going to go out together. Not a minute before. Communications, again, don't have a time frame, something to consider in the future. A multimedia specialist, especially as we look at more video communications, and then a special event coordinator, part-time.
So these, things you're going, these are add-ons to what we currently have.
Correct, staff additions, yep.
By the time we get to 35,000 between now and when we got there, we would need to add these.
That's the recommendation, yep.
Okay.
And one thing I asked Gabe when we first talked about this is, at some point, I'd like the staff to come back and put recommendations, rough time frames for these, like
Yeah.
this one in 26 or 20, whatever. Because we know it's not today, but it's coming, so just to help us think about it and plan.
Yeah.
Can I make one comment? Yes, ma'am, go ahead. It's been mentioned several times since I've been on city council that we have not increased our staff hardly at all. Were you going to get into that?
Yeah, so I can mention.
For decades.
That's right. I can mention briefly, if you remember, this is probably 3 years ago now, Lewis McLean prepared a future staff projection just based on staffing per capita. So you might remember the last year, we did a comparison on the operating portion of our tax rate. The city, been here since 6 years now, which is really cool, time flies. But long before, the city has operated efficiently, minimal staff, and lean. So if we were to add every position mentioned, requested, that would still put us at less than 7 employees per 1,000 population, which is, we're on the low end of neighboring cities, which is good, and that speaks to the city's past history. And to the credit of our department heads in being pretty efficient with managing. Other questions? Animal services, shelter technician, front desk, administrator, part-time. Could be contingent on a future facility, should the city council desire to bring that to voters at some point in the future. Public Works, again, this is a large list, but keep in mind we're considering when we're built out. I defer to Randy if you want to go through that.
So, after sitting down and talking with the staff, water and wastewater technicians, we're probably about 3 short at build out. Park maintenance technicians, we don't have a standalone parks department. It's a combination, as y'all well know. So we want to be able to isolate the parks and have a parks department that can take care of our parks. One more street tech to complete where we can split up and have a street department would help us a lot. Our public works specialty technician, that's our concrete tech guy that does our concrete work now, which is Ray. He'll be retiring here soon. We need somebody to help get in there and take his spot. Building maintenance manager and a building maintenance tech. We've bid out twice now, the building maintenance, and we got 0 response. Well, we got some response, but the bids were all over the place. This last one didn't even have a number. It just had a list of what they do. So they didn't even give us a number. So we're thinking if we're gonna, I really could use just a building maintenance department with a manager guy that can run it and get the things done. An additional drainage tech, and a certified mechanic for our mechanics.
Next is IT. So you'll recall, the city council recently approved a services contract with iWorks. So at some point in the future, add another IT technician, which is a lot of end user support. So my laptop's not working, my iPad's not working, what have you. We currently have two, Greg and Brady in IT.
What's the normal IT personnel per number of employees? Is there a number for that? Anybody know?
I don't have
I'm just curious. So.
I would say, this is sort of dependent on all the, not necessarily dependent on the employee count, it is, but all the stuff. So in the past, say, 10 or so years, public safety, as an example, has gotten more tech-heavy. So there's in-car video, we've got our ticket writers. Anything else I'm missing? I'm sure there's plenty.
The entire records management system requires the IT end user support to keep peripherals up and running.
Defer to the chief for the police department.
Sure. So, thank you, Mayor, Mr. Council, members of council, for allowing me to speak to you. Last year during the budgeting process, I made a presentation of two different staffing surveys. One showing we should be around 52 officers, another one showing in the mid-40s. We requested that last year, but also we were 10 short. So when council asked if it was something we needed right away, we told you that you can give it to us, it's going to sit vacant until we get our 10 openings filled. So that's still a need, though. You look at 6 for this next year, and then 2 every fiscal year as the population continues to grow. If you go by per capita, we should be around a 51-man department as of today, based off population alone. One of the things we've talked about in the past with budget presentation is also the jail supervisor. I have 4 jailers now that report to a sworn officer as a supervisor. Would like to make a civilian supervisory position there to supervise those 4 folks. That would also give us 24/7 jail operations, having that person there instead of having I think there's a 10-hour gap right now in coverage. The police corporal, we had 6 corporals up until about 8 years ago. We went to civilian supervisor and dispatch. When we did that, we gave up a corporal to have that civilian supervisor. We'd like to have that corporal position back. Also in our 2- and 3-year plans over the last couple of years, we presented the CID administrative assistant. Again, this is a position that takes care of our victims assistance activities. Right now that's done by a volunteer, Roy Wiederbrook, who's been with us for a number of years. He has indicated that this could be his last year, or he might have one more, so we need to get somebody in to get trained up on victim assistance activities. And right now, we offer the very minimum service since it is a volunteer, so we could actually improve our services to our victims of violent crimes here in our city. The PIO community outreach. So the council's been asking for a couple of years now to have somebody assigned to community services to really interact with the public. We've not been able to do that because of our staffing. Say we were 10 down, so we have people earmarked for that, if you will, for the future, but we'd really like to have a position there that's actually dedicated to that and doesn't have patrol responsibilities. The patrol responsibilities takes them away from all the outreach. I'm currently the PIO. You don't see me on camera much because of my personal philosophies on that, so they get a lot of written documentation if they want it from me for a quote. But having somebody that can serve as that PIO that's not the chief, so you have plausible deniability, I think is pretty important. And then the last thing on our list there is the property evidence crime scene technician. We use a sworn officer for that position now. It can be done by non-sworn personnel, and most agencies in and around our region have gone to non-sworn crime scene and property evidence techs. So it just frees up a sworn position to get it back on the street. That's what you really pay them to do. We can get those services done through a civilian at a little cheaper cost. It actually benefits the PD having the extra sworn officer on the street, and at the same time, it doesn't cost as much as an officer to have those positions filled.
And we have how many officers now, did you say?
We're authorized 41.
41?
Yes,
And you need 51 total?
So if you go by per capita, it's 2 per 1,000. And so we're just over 25,000 according to the U.S. Census Bureau, and so that would put us at a 51-man department.
Okay. Did y'all turn the heat off? It is like freezing in here. I'm like,
yeah.
where's the heat?
It's been cool today.
The air's blowing.
Oh,
How many coats does Janice have on? You have 2 coats? Yeah. Okay. It does what it wants.
it was really chilly this morning. We had some,
Okay.
library, Ellen?
Hello again. Within the next fiscal year, right now, we're projected to about spring of '25. So what I've listed here, let me see, with the exception of the last 2, are all positions that I really feel like we need opening day if we want to run the new building up to the standard that it's been designed for. If we don't have enough staff, that'll just mean cutting back on services or features that, that the building has, and we just don't have the people to staff them. Whether that's like the drive-up window, you know, if we can't spare enough people to man that all the time, you know, that would have to have limited hours or something like that. We have talked about opening on Mondays and being open 6 days a week instead of 5. That's something we'd really like to do. People have asked for that. But, you know, we have to have more staff to make that happen. So that's what's listed here. They're a little bit out of order of the priority, but, you know, if you need that, I can give that to you.
What's your top priority?
The top priority would probably be the circulation manager. That would be a full-time position that would coordinate all of our front desk people, which are all part-time currently. We have 4 part-time positions that man our front desk. So this would be a full-time supervisor for where the pinch will come with the new building, because we right now we have 1 service point, which is our front desk. In the new building there will be 4. We'll have the front desk, the drive-up window. All of our check-in activities will be at a separate location, not at the front desk like they are now. So that's a 3rd one, and then we'll also have a children's desk. So that's, you know, that spreads everybody out. We're going to need more people to cover that. So, so that's probably my top priority. After that would be the children's and youth assistant. As you know, we have a wonderful children's program. I know not just our story time and our programs that happen in the library, but our outreach to the community. They just need more help. So that would add a 3rd person into that department, so to speak. And then you can see the part-time positions there. The shelving page just puts the books away. You know, they keep coming in, we got to put them back on the shelf. And then the last 2 are sort of further down the road positions. The catalog assistant, right now, we have a part-time catalog. Well, we have 1 full-time and 1 part-time. I just want to make them both full-time because we'll need that with, you know, more stuff coming in and stuff like that. And then the technology specialist, as has been mentioned before, the further we go, the more technology there is. This would just be somebody in-house so that we wouldn't be taxing the rest of the city's IT department as much. So that would be somebody who could take care of our users and their, you know, their troubleshooting and stuff like that, but also develop programs and training and stuff for both for our staff and for the public. So that's what I've got.
So can I ask,
Go ahead, please.
how many full-time and part-time people do you have right now?
Right now, we have 6 full-time and 6 part-time. Yep,
I got
half and half.
you. Okay. So with 6 and 6, what you're saying is actually you're going to need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 14 new positions pretty quick.
Yes.
I mean, you need 14 to run the new center is what I'm saying. You have 6 now. So you're going to need like 8 more, basically. to start off.
Yeah, I
with,
think
okay.
that tracks.
Yeah,
Several part-time.
that's what I'm saying, 4 and 6, yeah.
Mary-
Thank you.
Mary, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Do you have a need for more staff in your adult learning department?
We're actually doing pretty, Ronnie will tell me different probably, no, we're actually doing pretty good there. We just added, the latest position that we've added by a little creative, moving stuff around was to make one of our part-timers full-time as his assistant, as Ronnie's assistant. And so now we've got 2 full-time people working on that, plus we have all of our volunteers that come from the community. So they do a lot of the actual teaching and tutoring in the classes, yeah.
Other questions for Ellen? Thank you very much.
Next is the fire department.
Thank you, sir. I will say this projection doesn't include the additional firefighter position we've been talking about recently. We're hoping to add that within the next very few
Very soon.
short weeks.
Very soon.
Tell us where you are on the 2. I know you're in the process of hiring 2 more. Where are you on those?
Well, we did a job offer to 1. We have 2 existing vacancies, so we're looking to fill that. And then the additional firefighter, we do have some qualified applicants. We're doing 2 interviews this week and setting up a couple more next week. So potentially we could have those 2 filled and the additional position within the next couple of weeks. That's our goal.
And with all 3
At
of
least
the-
on track to come on board with us. It takes a little bit of time to onboard them, but
And with all those 3 added, how many firemen will we have now?
total in the fire department, if we count the emergency management coordinator, that would be 31 adding this additional person.
Okay.
That's 20, that would be 27 on shift, 9 per shift, the emergency management coordinator, and then 3 in admin, the fire marshal, chief, and assistant chief.
Okay.
And this is really a revisit to some of the discussions we had much earlier in the year, and in detail, some of the discussions when the council members visited the fire station and talked to staff. The admin assistant support position that I feel we're in desperate need of. The assistant fire marshal, fire prevention specialist. Fire prevention's big in the fire service, obviously. In my opinion, we're not meeting our need. We're not getting we'd like to visit every business fire inspection wise at least once a year. We're not meeting that. We haven't for a long time. We don't have the capacity to do that. We supplement that with shift personnel, but as we get busier, there are times to be able to do that. We just don't have the time to get them out there to do that with the calls and trying to schedule those. So we're not meeting that need. Again, we haven't been, so we're a little behind where we need to be in prevention. So adding that position would help get us to that point. The 4-person minimum staffing, it would take 6 personnel to do that, so we have 4 people minimum on each fire apparatus every day. That's more the standard, and as more people keep moving to our area, that'll become more the standard in the fire service. I don't want to get in the weeds about that, but some of the council members had discussion with our staff on the importance of that and what that provides. So that's just a projection to get us to that point. And then the training coordinator, professional standards specialist, again, we're not meeting our need in training. The vast majority of our training is done in-house. That takes somebody to coordinate that, provide it. We're an ALS provider. Almost every fire department that provides ALS level service has somebody that just strictly does EMS training coordination. So we take all that on. Typically, that's been done a lot by the assistant chief, but we just don't have the capacity to do that. We've been struggling to maintain, and at some point, if we're maintaining and not evolving, we're going backwards. And we're just at that pivotal point, and as we continue to grow, it'll only get worse. So these projections are meant to address those needs and get us where we need to be.
What would be your priority, Chief? What would be your top 1 or 2?
Outside of adding this additional firefighter, really the admin assistant support position, we needed that for a while, but I think we mentioned that we didn't want to address that without getting the firefighter first. That was the priority. So the next important position would be that admin assistant support position. And then the 4-man staffing is a big deal, but realizing that's 6 people, we may have to take a little bite, a chunk at it at a time. That's kind of how we've grown in the fire department, is a little bit of a time. So that would be the next priority, and then after that, certainly the fire marshal. It's hard to put them in ranking order. Eventually, we will have to do that when we add them, but the support position would be the next important one.
I got one question on that. With everything that's been going on with MedStar and that, and at Grow Out, do you see Saginaw going to providing EMS transport, and would that need more people?
It would require more people if we got in the ambulance transport business. That would be a big thing to take on. The goal is to not get there, right? Because it is such a big animal, it would take so much more to do that. Right now, I can't say with absolute certainty that that may not be where we end up, but that's not where I'm projecting we end up. Hopefully that answers your question. There's a lot of critical meetings happening in the next 60 to 90 days. So even after about 30 days, I would be able to give you a lot more information about where I think this is going.
So want to mention building and code. They didn't submit any staffing requests as the city proceeds to build out. There's less new permits ground up, and more of the work for Larry and staff is going to go to the rental inspection program and like renovations and remodels. Every chance I get, remind everybody, get a permit. It's safer, easier, less hassle, get a permit on the front end. So credit to Larry and his staff. The building inspectors, I think almost everybody now, right, is pursuing or will pursue code enforcement certification, which is, code enforcement's pretty simple. We can hire folks that have no training, send them to a class, they test, but really good that there's some cross-training going on.
We have now 6. We had 2, and I've got 6 that are licensed by the state.
So you have 6 counting you?
Not me. I have not done it. I've put them first because I'm
Okay.
closer to retirement. I want to do them.
Oh, you don't get to go nowhere either. I don't know what you're thinking.
But I have to say, thank y'all for the support, because that's what I try. I'm a good believer in training and I think this is what we have to do.
Yeah, I'm liking that 15 to 20 year.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good, don't it?
Yeah.
Hotel California, you can check out, but you can never leave.
Next is human resources. We currently have only 2 people, and I'll note that in addition to all of our applicant tracking and needs of the departments related to human resources, Vicki and Melanie do payroll as well, so.
Yeah, payroll and insurance and risk management. So basically just adding some additional, if we're gonna be hiring all these people, right now we're at like 177, and during the summertime it's up 55 more employees. So 232 employees for 2 people, sort of kind of hard. So just to have some other people in there, but we don't have the space, so we're going to figure that out too.
This isn't used during the week. You can do something. No, I'm teasing.
Yeah, we could.
Put a desk out here, it'll be okay. No, I'm teasing.
So that's what we need.
I know.
Next is the senior center. Keith, if you want to.
First, I'd like to start out and make a comment about the library. I worked for another community, and they had 11 full-time employees, and 4 of them were named Barbara. So when Ellen hires her staff, my request is that they all be named Barbara, or they're all the same name, just to...
So you can blame it on them, or? Barbara did it.
The request of the senior center is, I talked a little earlier during my presentation on economic development about the importance of recreation and senior centers, a part of that senior recreation, and how much it is a priority in most cities. And it's a priority in our city because we're building a 10,000 square foot senior center. And the reason for that is, we're growing, and 2, their building defaulted, and they're our roommates right now at the rec center. They have our 2 largest rooms that they use every single day that's dedicated to them, plus they use some of our other rooms for classes. So what we're looking at when the time comes to be able to hire staff for the new center, because we're going from 2,000 square feet to 2,700, which is where they are now, to 10,000 square feet, is an exercise instructor, because currently we pay an exercise person a bit of money to teach classes, because it's kind of a good bad thing. We're growing, and the classes are exploding in size, They tend to get more funds. And also, because we're growing so much, is asking for 2 customer service associates. She has 1 on loan from the Recreation Center, but 2 full-time customer service associates and 2 part-time customer service associates. And a question was asked earlier from a couple of the departments of how many staff do you have right now. While recreation's not on this list, we have the same number of staff we had 20 years ago. And I'm not asking for staff for that. I'm asking for senior center because 20 years ago we had 1 senior center director or manager, and that was it. And we currently have 1 full-time senior center manager and 2 part-times, and we have a full-time customer service associate on loan. Vote for Barbara.
Recreation Center?
This, the customer service associate would help get us back to where we were even 20 years ago. So we can open up, we get the questions in council meetings about why don't we have the revenues we had before? Why don't we have the programs that we had before? Why don't we have, why aren't we open up later? Well, because it's due to staff, because we don't have the staff. We can kill our full-time employees and make them get an exorbitant amount of comp time that they'll never be able to take off, or we take care of it with customer or part-time staff, and asking for these 2 part-timers will get us back to where we were. So we can open up later and have leagues at night and stay open later on Saturdays and Fridays.
Clarification, so this isn't to move us towards, like, as we ramp out to 35,000, this is just to get us back to where we were pre-COVID?
That's correct.
So we've already got those resources, we never took any resources away, right?
Ashton, who was one of our, she was moved to full-time, and I believe it took 2 part-time positions, but she's the one that's on loan at our senior center just to help out Christy, because Christy's just incredibly overwhelmed. I think some of y'all came to the Christmas luncheon, and you kind of got an idea when there's 270 people at a luncheon, when 5 years ago we had 50. And classes are going from 3 to 50.
So we had 2 part-time, we've loaned 1 out to...
She was a part-time, she moved to full-time on the recreation side, and we've loaned her to the senior center.
So there, a couple of years ago, I think we had issues with some applicants, or not having enough applicants. So what happened is 2 vacancies or 1 part-time vacancy and 1 existing part-time person became full-time.
Okay.
And so now that full-time person, Ashton, is on temporary indefinite assignment helping the seniors, because as you know, they're growing, so.
We want to keep that position, that full-time position on the rec center side, but then add the 2 part-time to get us to where we can open up in the evenings.
Now what, center that previously had classes and rental space, we have less activity, recreation side, more because of the seniors, so.
So I get this straight. The rec center currently has a certain number of staff, full-time, part-time. So do we have these 2 part-time, the part-time position got moved to full-time position, so it's 1 full-time position?
Yeah, so we had, a year ago or whenever it was, we had a part-time vacancy. We had a part-time person that we made a full-time person.
So we took the 2 part-time, made 1 full-time.
That's it.
And that's a position we've actually been asking for about 15 years, probably.
Okay.
Correct.
So
And then,
to get back whole on the rec center, we either need the 1 full-time back or 2 part-time?
If let me see if I can go backwards on this. On the senior center, it asks for 2 customer service associates full-time. 1 of them when they get to their position. Plus the 2 part-timers. With the 2 part-timers to go with the 4 that we have right now will put us back to where we were before COVID.
Okay, we've loaned out a position to seniors, I got that, that's one full-time position, okay? That's fine. So when, I mean, that's open, I mean, the position's filled, you're just loaning it out to them.
Correct.
So when they get their head count bumped up, then they won't keep that existing one, because that's yours, it's on loan. So
Right.
they need to replace theirs, then you'll pull that one back.
Right,
That's one full-time position.
right.
Got that.
And that's the only position we've added in about 20 years.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, you've got on here, though, 2 part-time positions, but you stated you needed those 2 part-time positions to also get whole.
To also,
To get whole.
Go back to existing
No.
staff.
Okay, so to get back to where we were by COVID, you need 1 full-time position given back to you, and
That's
you
2
need these 2 part-time.
that's correct, yeah,
Yes.
right.
Okay, so you're not asking to extend, so basically, then why can't we go get these 2 part-time positions now? The resource are already allocated.
No. So-
We're not
so-
talking, they're not allocated,
So,
right?
so,
Then they wasn't given to it.
well, before COVID, there was a vacant part-time and an filled part-time. Because we had issues with applicants at that time, we put the 2 together to make a full-time. So
Okay.
2 positions are gone. You have 1 full-time that
Okay,
vacates
gotcha.
2 part-times. Because the seniors are occupying a portion of the rec center,
Okay.
there is generally less activity. On the rec side, we have less rentable space, less classes, because the seniors are there until they have their new facility, which would leave the whole of 2 part-time positions.
Okay.
And the temporary switch is to the rec person to go to the seniors.
Right now, the 2 positions, if we were able to get that in the future, would help get us back to where we were. Plus, it gives us a little flexibility in that right now, if we have a part-timer that, they're only allowed up a certain amount of hours, and they're maxed out at a certain amount of hours right now. And if one of them calls in and they can't make it, then one of our full-time employees has to go in and sub for them.
So correct me if this is not a fair statement. You will be whole the minute we hire a full-time position for senior citizens, and then we move that other resource. We up the senior citizen by 1. We move that resource other back over to the rec center. At that point, you'll be whole. Pre-COVID.
No, you'll be short a part-time person.
Short
No,
part-time.
because they took the 2 part-time positions and made
Made
one
it
whole.
whole.
That's a position we've been asking for about 15 years. That's the only person we've added in 20 years.
Understand, I'm just trying to get it straight.
They originally had 6 part-time people,
We have 4,
and now we actually have 5.
5.
We actually have 5. And then Ashton was one of those part-time people. So we had Ashton and a part-time that we couldn't fill. She made the 1. So right now we have 5 part-time people.
Okay, you originally had 6.
And then Ashton went to
You,
full-time.
I just heard that you took 2 of those and made 1 full-time position. So you should have 4.
We have more.
A vacant and a part-time that was existing.
I have to do math.
Well, a part-time position, whether it's full or vacant, is still a part-time position. You can't
Correct.
say I got 4 part-time positions and a vacant one in which I'm not counting. If you say you got 5 funded positions, it's 5. Whether they're full or not is irrelevant when it comes to budget.
So then I guess the new position you could look at, the addition would have to be the seniors.
Okay. Yeah, I do, yeah, right. That's
That-
what-
that trues
so
it out.
You add the 1 to the seniors.
Correct.
That gives that full-time position back over to you all. And at that point, you're whole with current pre-COVID, right? Or are you saying you need that full-time position and these 2 part-time positions to be whole?
Part-time position would be one of our greatest needs because it allows us to open up later in the evenings and allows us to stay open up later on Fridays and on Saturdays, and gives us some flexibility so full-time doesn't have to go in sub for.
Nikki's asking, is it funded? Is it you're asking if it's a funded position?
That's right.
The 2 part-times are not funded. These would be new, additional to staff.
Okay, that's right. Because
Yeah.
originally they said.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't hear well, so I apologize.
That's, I'm trying to make sure we understand. We're all clear, so yeah. So this is additional staff. These two are
Okay,
new
yeah,
staff.
that's what I was asking, because when he said it makes him whole,
It's,
I immediately assumed whole means funding.
right.
Understood.
Sorry.
No problem. I'm sorry, I don't hear very well, and so I apologize for that.
We're in the same boat.
Also need to mention too that since since COVID, our recreation revenues have not rebounded, and that makes sense because a lot of the rentable activity space is occupied by the seniors. So we expect, can't commit to it, but some return to normalcy at some point in the future once that space is available. Want to make one note before Kim discusses. We've talked about, Councilmember Felge's talked about a grant writer. Definitely would be a beneficial position. I think there's probably some opportunities to look at that on a contract basis. I don't know that we would have at this point in time, enough for a full-time person. Keep in mind that grant preparation is part of the job duty, but ultimately the reporting falls under the burden of finance. So unfortunately, Jennifer Garrett is moving on to the city of Aledo. Wish her the best. This is her last week. Kim's looking at the staffing structure there and add anything additional.
Just taking the opportunity with a vacancy and an upcoming retirement of a long-term employee to see what I can do to rearrange responsibilities and be more efficient, and that kind of thing. And then, as Gabe was mentioning, you know, a grant writer would be great, but along with that comes a lot of specific accounting requirements for these grants. So we would need to keep that in mind as well. And I don't know if, I know I get calls and emails all the time for consultants that are willing to do that. I don't know if that includes the accounting piece of it too or not, but that's something to consider.
So I added this, which we'll get to our next item on the work plan. The difficult task for the council is prioritization. We've already touched through some of these points. I'll just revisit it briefly. There was concurrence and discussion that the next additional full-time position would be the shift firefighter paramedic. We expect that. Bring in an action item for the city council to approve that hopefully in the next month or two, depending on background screening with Chief Spears. The next order of operations, which we've kind of consistently said the past year or two, is that it makes sense to implement salary study recommendations, committing to cost of living adjustments that are consistent, step increases that are consistent, and then market adjustments, which largely will be recommendations from our salary study. The idea is not to add new positions unless we're taking care and we're market competitive with existing employees. After that, the police department, as the chief talked about, staffing based on population guidelines and then preparing for a new facility, bigger facilities with library and senior center to maintain the same. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question on the police department. So
Sure.
if we go by the thing, because this is supposed to be ramp us out to 35,000, and if we go by that two police officers per 1,000, then that should be about 70 police officers. I mean, 35 plus 35 is 70.
At build-out, that would be correct.
Yeah, and building, that's
Yeah.
right. So,
What we requested there was 6 on the short term, which would get us closer to being where we need to be today, and then 2 per fiscal year moving forward. To
so
address
this isn't to
population.
get us built out, this is just get us whole now.
The 6 officers, yes, sir, that's correct.
6 plus 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yes, when you go through the whole group, you're talking about all the positions we
It'd
requested.
be 13 total. People
Yes,
on-
but some of those are not sworn police positions.
Yeah,
that we
okay, I
requested.
just talked it all together. I just want to make sure, so.
Do we have an update when we're going to get the salary study back?
You want to? I actually missed the last meeting, but I heard it was really good, if you want to give an update.
We talked to them last week, and so they're looking at sometime at the end of January. So we should have something in February.
Yeah, we'll present to the council. We want to get the consultant to answer questions that employees might have. I think the summary version that I heard, I had a conflicting meeting, was that pretty clear that based on the market average, we're behind. The greater problem was at the upper end of ranges. So that impacts our most tenured folks, that they're, I think, up to 20-some% behind the average. So the compression issue, which any organization, that's the most difficult to fix. And they recommended that instead of keeping our existing grade structure, to just do a new grade system, which again makes sense. I believe that the existing plan was from 2016, is that? So it's dated 2017. We've been pretty conscientious to involve everybody, all the department heads. There's certainly more discussion, but I think everybody is pretty pleased with what we've got so far. So.
All right, one more thing before we go off staffing. I want to just make this, I'm making this statement to council and also department heads. We will not fill all these positions this year.
Yeah.
Don't think we will. Probably not even next year. So this is the future. So please keep it like that. That's why I was asking for priorities and also timing. Some of these are for 2024, 25, 2026, 27. It'd help the council to plan out if we had some more of that information. And I'm going to force the department heads to prioritize. We're going to force you to rank it. You're not going to get everything, but we will feed you the most important ones, absolutely. So just please keep that in mind. There are mitigating circumstances such as new facilities opening. I understand that. But even then, you may not get everything you need day one. So just keep that in mind. There's limited resources. We are growing, but there's still limited resources. So keep that in mind.
Yes, this is a very long list. I wish we could do all of this today, which of course we can't. And so I hesitate to add more. But back on the public works, I believe I'm correct that most cities have a position called Parks and Recreation. Since we don't have that, and obviously Keith is, handling many different hats right now, but activities, just as if we had a Parks and Recreation department, and maybe we had a parks person and a rec person.
Answer is yes, and the Parks Board's quite demanding, so any help? No, I'm just kidding. It'd be nice to have that. It's been, as cities grow, you have to do what you can. It's always, to my knowledge, been a part of Public Works, but I'll let Randy speak.
So, I mean, I guess you could combine them and do that, but.
Or you're saying having like a Parks Director?
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be in charge of,
Just
well,
Parks?
Well, you want it combined with.
well, when I say maintenance, I don't know. He would probably just go ahead and put that all on you anyway, the maintenance part.
That's where I want to get away.
Hey, Randy, we need this.
We actually had Parks and Recreation was in my department in 2011, because I only had 2 employees, one truck that was like a 1991 92 Ford that was top speed about 38 miles an hour. It was actually, it was moved into Parks because they had more funding. We had like $20,000 to maintain the parks for the whole year, so we were kind of set up to fail.
Yeah.
Everything
And
costs 20.
one other suggestion or question for Randy. Do you think there's a need for a person that specializes in landscaping or horticulture or, landscape architecture, et cetera, something like that in your department?
Are you talking for the parks, or are you talking for building maintenance?
I don't know what department it would be
So
in, but.
our thought was that to get somebody in the building maintenance division that could take over all of that, the landscaping, everything. as well as the building maintenance as well.
And would you want that person to have some kind of educational background in those areas?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
definitely.
thank you.
We need somebody in the heating area.
All right, let's move forward. So moving on to F,
Yeah.
5F, 2024
Well,
work
the
plan.
Next one? Yes.
Yep.
This should be,
So more to come on staffing. We'll come back to,
Yep.
this is not the first time or the last time we'll talk about it.
we'll continue. Want to follow up from our last meeting. Request was what has been completed and what is remaining that we would carry over to this current year on the work plan. So I won't read it other than say, I think we've got 3 projects that we're recommending to carry over, but they all should be completed really in the first quarter. So we already mentioned one. The salary study should have a presentation and recommendations to the city council in the next month or 2. Parks Action Plan, what's remaining on that is to actually amend the Parks Master Plan, but that's well underway. The Animal Advisory Board is meeting again specifically to talk about occupancy standards and management procedures. I think they have a meeting, is it the end of this month or?
Next Tuesday,
Next
23rd.
Tuesday, okay. So we should have some initial recommendations, should be resolved pretty soon. Flock camera program is really completed minus installation, although the contractor is working on that as we speak, locations and ordering the actual equipment. Had a request, and I think it's a great idea, Councilmember Lawson, to add those carryover projects to this year's list and recognize them as such. It makes good sense. This list, since the last time you saw it, has not changed substantially. The additions would be an academy, which is essentially the curriculum, educational tours and such that we do for the Youth Council, which our first meeting of the year is this Saturday. To do that for adults, you know, we could come up with a name, Saginaw Academy, Saginaw 101, whatever is palatable. Sorry?
Saginaw for Dummies.
Saginaw for Dummies. I like that.
You're
Or
not in marketing, are you, Paul?
Or Saginaw for people that don't live in the city limits. We get lots of gripes that people are in Fort Worth and who knows where. I do think it'd be helpful to continue to talk through the prioritization as we talked about with staffing to kind of figure out a game plan going forward. So we have the 3 carryover projects, which again should be resolved here in the next couple of months. And then an additional project that's really not brand new. It's related to the our bond, the implementation phase of our bond. So Highland Station Park improvements. We had the 2 new playgrounds from last year. We're waiting on a berm, the crossing that we discussed, the water crossing, and I guess the, I don't know what we call that.
Power.
The power in the bathroom, yeah. So that's, we're making good progress. You might remember, and I think council members, there was a few council members in attendance. We had a town hall meeting to discuss what the Parks Board recommended to focus on, which is replacement of the playgrounds at Opal Joe Jennings as well as Brian Schwingler. I think we should be under design the next, late spring or summer, and have that out for bid?
Yes,
Ballpark?
we're going to discuss it at the next park board meeting,
Okay.
which is next Monday.
Okay, so that's underway. It was kind of neat. At the meeting, they gave some options of different themes. Y'all that were there might recall, I don't even remember, maybe Brack does, what the theme was for the various parks.
Modern, rustic, like wood.
Yeah, like a forest or something, yeah.
And then there was a more imaginative, kind of youthful look.
Yeah. Then the last item that is currently underway, the council approved the construction contract for this, is the switchyard expansion. So that'll be a new pavilion, the parking to go with it, and I think the idea or hope is to have that complete before the 24 market season in May.
Right, we're shooting for May 1st right now.
Okay. So what I'm looking to hear from you is whether or not this is the right list. If so, the action's pretty simple. We'll bring a resolution to the council to adopt at our next meeting, and then we'll report on our progress. One thing that I think might help is when we have staff items that are related to a work plan project, we just note it, you know, maybe in the summary, so that it's clear and everybody's kind
Gabe, we go back one page, please?
Yep.
Okay. This is a pretty big list, as we look at this and the carryover items. How are we feeling, not just you, but the whole staff, about accomplishing this in 2024?
Dead side.
It's a big list. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I look at number one, and that could take years. I mean, we could do that. It's a great item. I'm glad we're doing it, but that code enforcement on those hotels that could go a long time. There could be a lot of rocks we could turn over.
I will just make one comment if I can, sir. I want to bring this up, and I had a conversation with Lee the other day. We want to accomplish all these things, but I think sometimes, even myself, we lose a little bit of sight of what we do every day. We come to work, the police, fire, public, every department delivers services to our citizens, and we do those without fail. So sometimes we don't acknowledge that on our own, that how good a job we're doing for that. So that's our priority every day, and anything extra we want to do comes, and sometimes we don't get to that as maybe as quick as what we would all like to, or maybe what y'all like for us to do, but I just say that to remember there's a lot of stuff that happens every day. This is a big integral business running the city, and there's a lot of folks that come to work every day, and they're busy busting their butt every day. And anything we do extra, we do above and beyond what our normal duties are. So that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, that's a good point, Chief. I appreciate that. Mary, you have something?
And I agree with what you said, but I do like everything on this list, but do I expect all of these things to be completed in 2024? No. So if an effort is made to begin work on those and, I would hate to lose sight of any of these proposals because I think they're all great, but I, for one, would never expect all of this to be done, just like we have the carryover from 2023. Just don't lose sight of them as being important, and understand that our staff has their regular everyday jobs to do, and whatever can be achieved in these areas would be a positive.
Thank you, Mary. Or anything else in the work plan?
Yeah, one thing, not really directly out of the work plan, but could we get a monthly update when you send the thing or up to speed on everything?
No, that's fair and easy to do. And one thing I'd add is some of these projects are not like, for the engineers in the audience, smooth and linear in a Gantt chart. They happen in fits and starts, but that's very easy to do. So happy to do that.
And I would hope there's no other adds to the work plan, but if there is, now's the time. It's not too late, because we haven't approved the resolution yet, but it's getting late. Yes, Keith.
May I say one thing? It's just something to consider. I really like the grain elevator lighting idea. I think it would be really cool. It would really spotlight our city. The one thing that I asked y'all to consider is staff, and the current staff, especially my staff, because every year, really from this time for the next few months, or the last few years, we go through the exercise of what can we cut, who can we, what staff can we, to be able to give raises or for priorities. And most of my staff watch this meeting, and then in the past and even relatively recently, I come to work every day at 7:30, and I go to the rec center, I pick up a deposit, and I talk to staff. And I spent a lot of time talking to my staff off the ledge, 'cause when they hear about, because they know we're the first ones that are going to get cut. And just, the grain elevator thing is really cool. It really is, but it's also really expensive. And is that a priority, or is the current staff a priority?
The grain elevator lighting for this, the way I look at it, is just an evaluation. Get the vendor to come out, look at us, tell us what, we may see it and get sticker, just like you said, may get sticker shock because of the price. We may get sticker shock because of the resource hours it's gonna take to maintain it. The people who owns a grain elevator may tell us to pound sand,
That's a
right?
big one, yeah.
That's the big one, because a lot of
Absolutely.
time the local,
So
they're
this-
for it, but then it has to go to their
This is more of a
corporate, which might be not in this state or in this country.
Yeah. This is what Paul said, this is nothing more than a fact finding.
Do we want to amend this, say grain elevator lighting and put evaluation or something, or
Yeah,
plan? I don't know,
evaluation's
something
great.
like that, yeah.
Was that the way you interpreted it, Gabe?
Well, let's put it on there. Let's put the words on there so everybody's
I'm
clear.
good with that.
Okay.
Part of being a leader is taking care of your staff, and I try to take care of my staff, and it gets tiring trying to talk them out of quitting.
How about grain elevator study, lighting study?
Yeah, writing stuff.
If y'all remember a demo across from the old fire station, Keith mentioned, and it was mentioned that, the property owner has to approve lease or whatever the correct mechanism, and then there's always a cost. So,
A local favorite had that
Improvement
in their
grant.
presentation, that was something they would like to, to do.
They might look into an improvement grant.
All right, anything else? Any other questions on the work plan?
More than like donate it.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Gabe.
yes, sir.
And as I see, we have no executive session, therefore at, what time is it?
So Gabe, real
Oh,
quick,
all right.
so at the next meeting, you bring this back for us to vote on it?
That's right. Yeah, so I will just take the project list, as we have done in past years. It'll be attached as an exhibit and a resolution. The council approves it, and then we'll get to work.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so if nothing else, we are on to 7, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I make a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Valerie, and then Paul, second.
Raise their hand.
That's it, okay, raise your hand. All in favor, raise your hand. Are we doing it, Janice? Are we voting? Okay.
Look, the
Okay.
heat, I can just finally feel heat after all this evening. I'm about to freeze.
I voted both ways. I've raised my hand, I pushed the yay button.
Do what?
All right,
Now
it's
you're stopping us.
at 7:50, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.